My guest today is Tim Kennedy, Artistic Director of Buffalo Opera Unlimited. Welcome, Tim. Thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
So it's a very exciting thing to have an opera company in Buffalo.
Oh, yes, yes.
And how long has your company been in existence?
Well, Eric, this is our 30th year. 30th year. So we're really excited about it. We've done 3 productions this year, and we've never done that before. We've always done 2, a lot because we didn't have the finances, but we just had to. 30th year we had to do something special, so we decided to do 3 productions.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so now, in 30 years, how has your company evolved, and how did it start, and what's your role in it all this time?
Well, the first thing I like to talk about is our mission statement. Our mission statement is to help local and regional singers do lead roles in opera. It basically starts that way. Actually, we do the whole gamut, but that is our focus, because so many singers want to have major careers, and that's why they study, and they go to these wonderful schools, and it doesn't happen for everyone. And for those who don't have major careers, they should have something else. They should have another process where they can continue their craft and keep their singing alive, and we provide that. That's our focus, to help those local and regional singers who don't go away to New York or the big places, who tried very hard but it didn't happen for them. So they want to, and I think there needs to be a place for that. Otherwise, so many singers, they leave, they spend so much money, and that's a major problem, because this profession, well, let's face it, opera is the most expensive performing art, as you well know, and so they need to have a place to be able to continue their craft if they don't make the big time. And that's what I wanted to do.
I see.
And that's why I started the company.
So you started the company.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations.
Based on that, yes.
That's fantastic.
And, well, it was rough starting. And we started with, I would take an opera, and we would just use singers, because that's all we could afford. And I kept the storyline going, but what I would do is cut out the choruses and the major ensembles, and of course we couldn't afford an orchestra at that time, so we would do it with piano.
Oh, I see.
And you get your best singers that you can, and you stage director, and at that time I was doing everything, and I still am, in a matter of fact. But at that time, you would stage it, and then you would you have the performances, and you have them with piano, and I could get away with doing production for a small amount of money, a couple of thousand, and that was good. And we did that for 16 years until the community began to know us, get funding from the foundations and the banks, etc. And one of the good things of being together 30 years is that the major foundations or local foundations know you, and they know your track record. You make sure you pay everybody on time, and everything else, and you have a rapport with the local community. And took us 16 years, and then we were professional. We were able to get full orchestra and everything. So that's how it started.
My, oh my, that's a great track record. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Wonderful to start a program like that.
Thank you.
And so now, if you're developing singers, is there instruction that goes along with your program, or is it strictly performance?
It's strictly performance. As you well know, tampering with singers' techniques can be very difficult. I respect all voice teachers. I was one myself at one time, and I don't like to really deal with technique. So they do that on their own. They come and we choose them based on, we judge and choose them based on what we need for the performance. And I said, you take them and you just respect their vocal technique at that time, and you work with them like any opera company, do the staging, etc.
And so you audition for the roles that you're
always audition. Yes. Now the difficulty is because one of the positive things about having a local and regional is that we can't afford, as a small opera company, we can't afford to house singers.
I see.
I did that once. We did a Tosca in 2000. and I really need a certain kind of sound for Scarpia. And at the time, I couldn't find it, so we went outside, and I think we got Brian from Washington, and he came in, and we were able. But that's only in a situation where we can't help but do that.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, now, where are your singers coming from? Are there strong enough vocal programs that are turning out singers of the quality you're looking for?
Well, yes. Oh, yes. Basically from Western New York.
Western New York?
Yes. And so the Buffalo talent, singers there, we have fine talent. That's what I'm amazed about, I have to tell you. I'm just amazed about the local and regional talent we have. And of course, there's Rochester.
Oh, yes.
So we certainly bring in singers from Rochester when we can. And so it's basically Buffalo and Rochester, but we say Western New York, basically just to keep it safe. And you can get to Buffalo from Rochester in an hour.
Right, that's true.
Half, so it's very convenient. And as I said, we can't afford to house, and that helps. But we don't need to, because I'm amazed every time I do a production. I'm amazed at the talent. That's local and regional. I'm amazed, always amazed, and I sometimes think, why are people going out of town?
This cultural richness of this area.
Oh yeah, it's amazing, especially Rochester.
Now, do any of your singers come from Canada? I mean, the advantage to Buffalo is being right where Canada is.
No, we don't have that many. There have been people who have auditioned from Canada, but no, we get them from Niagara Falls. But we don't have a lot of singers who came from Canada. I remember one, I can only think of one, maybe in '87, I think, when we did a cozy.
Now, opera is one of those art forms that encompasses several. Where do your stage directors and costume designers and lighting directors come from? Are they local as well?
Oh yes, oh yes, yes. Our stage director is not a stage director, but our scenic designer is from Buffalo. I mean, everyone is local. Everyone, most of them is local. Yeah.
I see.
And because we've been 30 years, we've been around, you have a rapport with these people, and you work with them on a regular basis. You try to give as many people a chance as possible, but it has its benefits.
Now, opera encompasses a wide range of repertoire as well. What have been some of your most successful shows over the past 30 years?
Well, we did a wonderful Traviata in '03.
That's a Verdi La Traviata.
Yes, yes, and we had an amazing rapport with that. And as a matter of fact, we used two Rochester singers there, and one was Susan Catronio, who was our Violetta, and Mark Izzy Schmidt also did the tenor parts, and we did a Tosca in 2000. So it was just, it was a wonderful. Those are the ones that I remember that I really loved. In '99, we did Susanna, Carlisle Floyd's
an
Susanna,
American opera,
that I really love. I think what's most exciting, and another exciting one, is our next year. We have been funded to do a premiere opera called The Fall of Stag Lee. Now, Stag Lee comes from an African-American folklore, and it basically is about a man who shot someone, a friend, in a card game, and knocked his Stetson hat off, and he became, and he got 75 years for this. And well, it's folklore. Well, no, this really happened, but it's basically folklore, and there were plenty of folk songs based on it. About Stag Lee or Stagger Lee. And then there was a rock tune that came out in 1958 by Lloyd Price, I think, and it was a very famous one. It tells the story basically of what happened. So my good friend, Dr. Darrell Nettles, who is now teaching at University of Tennessee, wrote a one-act, 50 minutes. Now we did, in 2014, we did two jazz operas.
Two jazz operas.
Two jazz operas. Yeah, I asked Darrell, was it okay if we called it a jazz opera? Because it has so many, but it has so many elements, classical as well as jazz. It's a wonderful piece, and we did it along with George Gershwin's Blue Monday.
I see.
Now, when Darrell did this for the first time. It was only 50 minutes. It was one act. He has revised it.
I see.
And we taped the play. We sent it to New York State Council on the Arts. They loved it.
Wonderful.
Loved it, and they gave us funding for next year to do it.
That's marvelous.
Now, he has revised it into a 2 hours worth of music, and now it's full orchestra.
Fantastic.
That 50-minute piece that we did was just for the first act. No, not the first act, but just a 50-minute, one-act opera. We used 2 pianos and a combo section. Had
you can still
bass,
do a lot with that.
Yes, but now it's revised, and he has orchestrated it for full orchestra.
I see.
And now it's 2 hours worth of music.
Oh,
so
my.
I am so excited about
So
that.
congratulations on not only starting a company, but also engendering the creation of new works.
Oh, yes.
And works that use stories from popular culture and popular influences such as jazz. Is this typical for your company? Or you mentioned some Verdi and Puccini masterworks as well, but you seem to blend them.
Yeah, well, yes, and I have to tell you about Buffalo Opera Unlimited. The unlimited part of Buffalo Opera means that we do other styles of music.
I see.
As a matter of fact, about 2 weeks ago at 710 Main Street in Buffalo, which is formerly called Studio Arena, we did an all Duke Ellington.
Duke Ellington.
All Duke Ellington. It's called Salute to Duke Ellington. We did his favorite tunes. I had a wonderful jazz combo quintet by George Caldwell, who is a master jazz musician. He teaches jazz ensemble at UB, University of Buffalo, I should say. And Bobby Militello is in that quintet, and we did loads of favorite songs, and we used dancers also.
Oh, with dance.
Yes.
That's very innovative.
And it was just a wonderful, very successful show. So we're excited about that.
Oh, that's great. So there are lots of art forms. Dance has been traditionally a part of opera, but it was neat to combine that art form in a more common setting. And so now, with New York State Council on the Arts, you've found some statewide funding. How else do you fund your company, basically?
Well, the foundations. We have some foundations in Buffalo who, and as I said, it helps for 30 years because they really know who you are, and you try to do as best you can to keep the appearance of letting them know that you're growing, and so they come and put now. I don't want you to get the impression that we have major funding. We're always raising money and trying to doing. I mean, opera's expensive. It's very expensive.
True.
And but we're pretty set, and we can rely on some of the foundations every year because of 30 years. That's what helps. That we've been going along for such a time.
And you mentioned Arena Studio. Now, are there other innovative venues? Are you typically in big opera halls, or where is our audience going to find you?
Well, our next production, we're doing a production of Deflator Mouse, December 4th and 6th. It's going to be on the campus of Buffalo State College.
I see, so some campus.
Yeah. And we also rent University of Buffalo also.
I see.
Yeah. But our home is basically Buffalo State College, Performing Arts Center in Rockwell Hall.
I see. I see. And are you a singer yourself, Tim? It sounds like you have a good resonant voice.
Well, thank you so much. I started as a singer, and I basically, I hope this doesn't sound selfish. That's why I started the company. When things didn't happen for me, I certainly wanted to have a career as an opera singer.
Yes.
And they have age limits.
That's true.
And when things happen, I put a lot of time, a lot of effort into becoming an opera singer, and I certainly did some things. I sang with Rome Opera Festival in 1983, and I traveled with Porgy and Bess also, and I did a cameo role in that. But I certainly would love to have a major career, but it didn't happen and I said, well, what do? Do you stop,
Right.
So I said there has to be some opportunities for opera. I fell in love with it as a teenager.
Right.
And So I started this company for people who don't have major careers, who still want to sing opera, and we just stayed with it and built.
That's very commendable. That's
Yeah,
very
thank you.
commendable. And so now, looking down the road, are there some plum projects that you would love to see your opera grow and develop to be able to accomplish someday? Something that you just have on your bucket list?
Yeah. Well, of course, I just mentioned the premiere of
coming
Stag
year.
Lee. And if things work out, we're thinking about doing a Hansel and Gretel.
Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'd love down the road at some time to do Mass Ball. I'd love to do
Verdi opera.
yeah, and I'd love to do Othello.
Uh-huh,
As a matter of fact, I have to talk about a very fine singer from Buffalo, from Rochester.
From Rochester.
Yeah, his name is Tamar Green.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, and I just saw him on television.
Oh.
New York Philharmonic did Showboat.
Ah.
And he was in the chorus, and I called him and I said, Tamar, I thought you told me that you were doing a show and you were leaving the country, you were in Europe or something, and he was. So the Showboat, the Showboat television show must have been taped earlier.
I see.
Yeah. And I loved his voice when I heard it. It's nice and rich, and I said, Tamar, why don't you wait for about 5 years, and if I'm still going on, I'd love to do Othello. For us,
Well, Othello has an interesting role because they've always spoken about that part of the Moor.
Yeah.
You've mentioned some African-American composers and some African-American topicality in jazz, for instance, and the heritage there. And is it specifically your interest to promote the careers of African-American artists?
Not specifically.
Not specifically.
You know, when I sit down and I think about possibilities of doing things, I just think of, best musicians that I can think of and some things that are wonderful. We've also done Gershwin, all Gershwin shows, and that's the unlimited part of Buffalo Opera. And also we've done Cole Porter. So it's just a matter of really finding some we believe in diversity. We did in 2013, we did an all Verdi program, and my gosh, we used Mario Martinez, and we have a Korean soprano who will be doing the Fledermaus, and she did the Verdi program with us. So it's a very diverse theater crowd when we can do it, and it's just not a matter of circling in on one particular composer, but when we do the unlimited parts, it's always, we use the jazz sacred mass a lot of, his name escapes me.
That's okay.
And that always plays very well also. So.
Now, is that a staple of your season? Is there a work, for instance, some opera companies like to do Amal and the Night Visitors at Christmas time as their staple, or much like the Philharmonic will do the Nutcracker as their holiday classic.
Yeah.
Is there something that recurs every year that people can watch for?
I wish there was. There's another opera company that does Amal and the Night Visitors, and I'm envious of them because I would have loved to do that myself. But that's okay. No, we don't have a staple. But it's great. Just trying to see what's great. I have this text that I look and I try to find out what happens every 100 years sometimes, and that gives me an idea of what we can do, and I try to replay that, and that works very well for us sometimes when we can find
some anniversary celebrations, basically. Now, who decides what the company performs? Is that your role as artistic director? So, and are there some composers you found you particularly have an affinity for, or how do you prepare for yourself for the artistic vision for that production?
Yeah. Well, I love Mozart. We've done a lot of Mozart. One of the critics says, I noticed you've been doing a lot of Mozart. But the great thing about it is when we started doing this, we were doing it with piano.
I see.
And as the reputation grew and the money grew, we were able then to make it more professional.
Yes.
And we did that with Così. I've done Così 3 times.
That's Così fan tutte, Mozart opera.
Yes. And the first time we did it with piano, with a little string quartet, and the last time we did it, with scenery, full orchestra. So it gives me a chance to replay it many times. I like Carlisle Floyd's Susanna, and we did that once before, and we did it again in '99, and I love to do it with full orchestra. I like to see how we've grown.
Yes.
And so I sometimes think, I wonder, this might not be a good idea because we're repeating things, but we're repeating them on a more professional level.
Yes.
And that helps.
They're part of your legacy and part of your repertoire, and so you keep them hot.
Yes.
Yeah, I
yes.
understand.
Yes. Yes.
Now, it's interesting, who conducts your productions?
Well, I do.
Oh, you're conducting as
Yeah,
well?
I conduct also, yes.
That's brilliant.
And, you know, I tell you, one of the reasons why, you know, and I hope that doesn't sound egocentric, it really is to save money. You know, it really is. You know, if there's a problem with money and we don't have enough, well, guess who gets the job, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, and when someone complains about it, I said, hey, look, you could do it if you want to. If I think they can do it professionally, I said, but I can't pay you.
Yeah.
You know?
Now,
But
do you have other staff to support you in your role?
yeah, I've got a wonderful board.
I see.
I've got a wonderful board, and on my staff, I have this extraordinary woman by the name of Bernadine DeMike.
Okay.
And her major is ballet dancing, but she got into costuming also.
Oh.
And it's amazing. Over the years, she has collected 2,000 costumes. So I have a costumer whenever I need something. You know, the dresses the gowns, I should say, for Fledermaus are absolutely wonderful.
Really?
And I think she was with a friend. I don't know the background, and she was very much into making costumes, and this friend died, and she took over all of the costumes. But Bernadine DeMike is an incredible help to Buffalo Opera Unlimited. So I use her all the time. David Butler is our scene designer. I think you mentioned, you called him one time, and I was able to give him his name.
He's worked in Rochester, yeah.
And I just think he's phenomenal. He's also doing our Fledermaus.
And is he in Buffalo also?
Oh yeah, he lives in Buffalo,
see.
and he's right now. I'm afraid because there are a lot of movies being made in Buffalo. I don't know much about that, but it seems to be a great town to do movies, and because of the architecture, Buffalo has incredible architecture. And they're using him a lot. So I said, "Oh, David, I hope they don't take you away from us." So he always does some wonderful, wonderful scene design. So that basically is my staff. But I like to use other people, as many people as possible. I think it's unfair when you're using the same person over and over again.
Yes.
If you can find them, yeah.
And in terms of the future of opera in this country, how are you developing audiences? Do you give them some education when they come to an opera? How are you making sure that your art form survives?
Yeah, well, there's a School of Performing Arts.
I see.
And what's great about them, they're involved with the HD program from the Met, which is absolutely sensational. They take these teachers and they take them to the Met for a week, and they're able to see all of these operas. They take them backstage to meet the artists. They just have a wonderful itinerary.
Now, which school is this?
It's called the Buffalo Academy of Vocal and Performing Arts.
Vocal and Performing Arts.
Yes.
I see.
And there are two teachers. As a matter of fact, they are going to an HD presentation of Magic Flute, and I was just asked to come to give the kids some kind of background.
Right. You're referring to those high-definition broadcasts that the Met produces of operas, full-length operas with very intricate camera work and beautifully produced.
Yes, yes.
Well, that's a wonderful education for them.
Oh, it is. It is. And I have taught in the Buffalo school system before, and I just think that we've got to put classical music back into the curriculum. The orchestras need to have some kind of communication with the school system.
Yes.
To me, that's where it starts, in the school system. I mean, for those who don't get it at home, and it has to be in the school system, and we won't get all of them, but we need to get some of them.
Yes.
And maybe you can get some performers. I've had some incredible experiences teaching in the Buffalo school system.
I see.
But we've got to put classical music back into the curriculum, and we've got to do it. And I know there are some schools that do that, but I think that was the problem. I'm a native Philadelphian.
I see.
And when I of course, it was 100 years ago, but Eugene Ormandy
Yep.
was, he was at the Philadelphia Orchestra for over 40 years.
Yes.
And my God, the school system, the classical music program in the school system was unbelievable.
I benefit from that same background. Remember seeing him as a child too, because I grew up across the river in New Jersey, so I know the power of that. Now, do you have a young artist program with the Buffalo Opera Unlimited too, or are you encouraging the next generation?
Oh yeah, well we are really encouraging through this HD high definition MET program with the Buffalo Schools, Performing Arts School.
Your partnership with
Oh yeah,
I see.
Definitely. And I really, we will send artists in there. I will go and lecture whatever I need to do in order to get them very involved, because I remember teaching there for 1 or 2 semesters years ago, and I was very surprised that a lot of classical music was not taught at that particular time. But we've got to get it back into the curriculum. There's nothing more important than getting classical music very strongly in the curriculum.
Now, how about your audiences, Tim? How did they find you, and how are you finding your audiences, and what demographic finds your company attractive, and who would you like to attract?
Oh well, that can be a problem, as you well know, getting the audience. I mean, most people say that opera goers are usually senior citizens, and that's why we have to do something with the younger generation to try to get them involved, and that's why I preach getting it back into the schools. And we have opera groups. We have an opera buffs organization, and we have a Buffalo Opera Foundation who helps, especially children. We've just got a small grant from them in order to have children come to the opera, and they pay for the tickets.
Fantastic.
And then we have an Irwin Johnson Memorial Fund, and Irwin died, oh my God, maybe 15, 20 years ago, but he really wanted Buffalo to build an opera house.
I see.
So we have an organization that has that as their
That's their goal. And you're working with them as well?
Oh yes, I have. I've known them for years. We have a working relationship. They give us funding whenever they can. We receive something from them every year, and we respect that, and we really love that. We also have, we have Opera Week.
Opera Week.
We have that
Opera Week
in Buffalo also. And I might say that I'm a little envious because Rochester has a wonderful opera. Rochester Lyric Opera. When I saw your Opera Week, I just could not believe it.
Oh, everybody works very hard at sustaining an art form that we're passionate about, and we care. And
the symposiums and bringing in artists to give lectures are wonderful. I hope we are able to make some of them, but. You have a coach coming in.
Yes, we do have wonderful programming this year. But it's so great that you can be just an hour away from Rochester to Buffalo and find this richness of. And it's great that you're developing a new hall there, because venues are important in opera.
Oh, very, very, very much so. And because you have to rent them, you have to wait and see when they're available. And that can be problematic. We're doing one. Our upcoming production is around the holiday season.
Oh yes.
And of course there's a chorus that has to, and it was very difficult to get a chorus this time, because the choristers are saying, "Oh no, Tim, don't even think about it.
Right, it's a busy time.
I need them for my chorus."
So many competing activities.
Yeah.
So now, how do people learn about Buffalo Opera Unlimited, and how do they find you? Do you have a website? And
share
that with us?
Yeah, BuffaloOperaUnlimited.org.
.org.
Yeah.
And is there a way for them to buy tickets by phone, or do you do it through Ticketmaster?
Oh yeah, yes, by Ticketmaster. All of the information is on the website or on our Facebook also.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming in today. It's been delightful and interesting conversation. Thank you so much, Tim, for being
You're very welcome.
On the Spotlight.
Okay.
And good luck with your upcoming season.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Glad you came.
Okay.